Good morning. Well, if you can tell by my wrist, I actually did get the watch finally. It was not quite on time, but I have had it for about 4 or 5 days now as of recording this. And this is a couple of days after video number 2 went live. So I've had a decent amount of time to do some basic testing on it. And that's kind of what I wanted to walk through in this video. But first, an update on my refund status for all the hassle this thing has caused. So I got a refund for the previous watch. I did finally get a refund for the band that was sent back in the box of the other thing, but the Duo charger that's sent back is still pending as of right now. It does take about 5 to 7 days for them to process the return, so I'm hopeful I'll see that here by mid next week. If not, then I'll open some disputes on the credit card charges, but at least I've got almost all of my money back. And if I get that last piece back, I will be happy. But to hammer a little bit more on Samsung's issue, in my NOS, one of my Seagate 12 terabyte RAID drives died in the midst of this last week. I went online, it's under warranty, I submitted the replacement, I paid $12 for shipping, I got the new one to me. In that box came the return label for me to ship that one back to Seagate. I did that, no big deal. The replacement drive, however, was, I guess, a refurb and had something wrong with it. So instead of registering 10.9 terabytes out of the 12 that I should have, it only registered about 936. So it couldn't be added back into my array to repair the damage. So I went, okay, that sucks. I contacted Seagate's chat support. Said, hey, I'm doing this, this is what I've seen. Said, okay, can you put it in an external hard drive? Can you connect it to your computer? Can you check Windows Disk Checker? Asked for a couple of screenshots, spent maybe 5-6 minutes fiddling with it on that front to get them what they needed. Said, okay, obviously something's wrong with this drive. Here's what we can do for you. We can ship you a brand new built hard drive. Here's the model line it will be, which happens to be the model line that I already have installed, just a newer revision. And we will pay for the shipping. Okay, great, fine with me. I'll take it. So that replacement drive should arrive here 2-3 days from now. But it's completely taking it away from myself as the consumer, and they are just taking care of it. Yes, I'm out of drive for a couple of days, but my array has 2 drive redundancy, so I could still lose another drive and still maintain a fully functioning array. So I'm not really worried right now. That's why I set the array up this way. This is the watch band I ordered and what I wanted. They sent me something completely different. Is it the end of the world? No. But the way that Samsung and Seagate handled their individual returns, both were problems on the respective companies, not me. I didn't make the hard drive defective, and I didn't ship me the incorrect watch band. But if you look at how each company handled it, that's a very drastic difference in the way that they took care of their customer. One makes me return a free gift and the entire item that was already delayed and pre-ordered, so now I am very inconvenienced, and then I have to front the bill for a replacement and hope that you give me a refund. Now, I've already eaten a bit of a finance charge on this. I'm not going to go crazy and be all pissed off about that, but I could very well, within my rights, be upset about that and make more of a hassle for Samsung on that front. Seagate, I went through the proper channels. They sent me a defective drive. They apologized. They are making it right. That's all I wanted from Samsung. Again, they could have just drop shipped this band that I ordered in the mail and sent it to me. Would have been here within a day or two, no big deal. I would have been happy. They could have not had to deal with it. Now, I'm out the pre-order gift on their mistake, and I have to sit here and wait for the refund. So now, I have always liked watches. I've always enjoyed having a watch, but for about the last 5-6 years, I haven't actually had a watch because I couldn't find one that I liked. What I'm showing you now is the last watch that I owned. It was this pretty crazy Timex Expedition watch. The one pictured here is the exact watch. This thing had ridiculous amounts of features, being a full magnetic compass that you could realign to magnetic north depending on where you are in the country, barometric readouts for altitude, weather prediction, multiple time zones, thermometer, and a slew of other fun things that you could do on it. It was pretty neat and crazy. And even the compass dials over here could double as a analog watch face. So very crazy watch. This thing was pretty cool, but it was a bit too big for my wrist. And so this part on the side, they built it already fairly angled, but it was still even there a little big. The band was elastic, which was beneficial for a little while, but after sweating in it a little bit, it got kind of nasty. And then the plastic on the other side that held the other loop is what eventually snapped and broke on it. So I tried glue, I tried tape, I tried a number of different things to fix it, and it just kept coming apart. So the other gripe was this ran off of 2 standard watch batteries, and I could get maybe 1.5 to 2 years out of that. So this thing was a power drain, but it was pretty dang cool. It was a nice little watch. After that, I started looking at replacement options, and I was big into some of the e-ink watches. I looked at some very swanky, nice Swiss watches because I really liked the mechanical interface and all that. I tried a Fossil kinetic watch for a while. That was kind of cool, but I ended up returning it just because it really, all it did was power itself, and I didn't mind the idea of winding up a Swiss watch on the faceplate. But I wanted some basic features on it like I had on this watch. So I think it was an Amiga that I was looking at that was close to $800 that had a barometric sensor in it, thermometer, and a calendar, and a couple other basic things. But I just could not bring myself to spend that kind of money on it. It was a gorgeous watch with kind of this subtle blue metallic band and faceplate. But the e-ink watches that I looked at were nice, but they suffered a bit from screen lag, and they couldn't really take much abuse. Some of the early smartwatches that came out I was very interested in, but again, they lacked in a lot of functionality and features. The ones that I was super close to buying was the Samsung Gear 2. And this is what that one looked like. It had a camera on the top, it had a microphone on the bottom. It was kind of neat, but it lacked in a lot of oomph and power, and it just didn't have the best reviews. It wasn't a bad watch per se, it just really didn't fit the bill for what I needed, so I actually couldn't bring myself to buy it. Samsung Gear 3, I had other priorities, but I was definitely looking more for a watch, and I didn't hate the Tizen operating system, but I really wanted something more open and more friendly. And finally, with the Watch 4, they've gone with Wear OS, which is the Android version of it. And they've still put their kind of overlay on it, their kind of skin to it. But it is at its core, at least Wear OS. So with that said, let's start looking at the watch and what I knew about it going in. Now, I bought the 40 millimeter because, as you can see, I don't have the largest wrists. I mean, they're wider, but they're not very thick. And I wanted something that would fit pretty nicely on my wrist without looking goofy. The bands on here don't bend at a crazy angle to get around. And I think if I had anything really bigger than this, then it might have gone a little crazy. I probably could have gotten away with the 42 millimeter one. But I think 44 would have just been way too big and just looked really goofy on me. Other benefit of the larger ones is that you do gain a little bit more in battery and screen resolution. I have not had any problems with the screen resolution on this one, but I have noticed the battery is on the lower side. But again, I knew exactly what I was buying, so I'm not really unhappy with that. So let's take a look. Now I'm going to switch cameras here so you can get a better look at what I'm talking about. All right, so here is the watch itself. Now this is the face that I've liked. I've got screen time out fairly quickly, but if I twist it up, it goes off, and if I bring it back, it comes on. And I really like how that works because while it does sometimes turn on when I don't want it to, it stays off for the most part and really does help conserve battery life. Now I've also got a screen protector on here. It's just a $8 4-pack that I got off of Amazon that had pretty much the highest level of reviews. I've either got a tiny piece of dust under it or a tiny little scratch on this, but that's fine. That's what I bought these things for, just to keep the watch itself nice. I looked at some larger silicone ones that kind of protect the aluminum parts, but I have not decided to buy one of those yet, but they're also about $10, and I think you get 3. You get one in silver, one in clear, and one in rose gold or kind of pink that matches that other style. I have seen some complaints about the clear one, that it kind of yellows. Makes sense. Some of the cheaper plastics do tend to do that. So the watch itself, The resolution, not a problem for a watch. I mean, I'm not expecting to be watching HD videos and look at an amazing picture in here, but it's perfect. I can read everything. I can see fine details. They've got little sun rays coming off, and it all looks very good. Another complaint I saw was that on the Classic, there's a ring around the outer bezel that you can use to rotate and cycle through your apps. I saw a couple of people who bought this watch complaining that the bezel on this doesn't do the same thing. No, it doesn't, because the bezel doesn't have anything for you to do that. It's a bezel. However, if you use your finger on the edge of the touchscreen and start to roll around, it does the exact same thing. And it works with gloves if you turn on the extra sensitivity. I've never had a problem using that to rotate through it. And I don't have a billion apps on here, so just scrolling through once in a while is not the end of the world. So kind of an invalid complaint in my opinion. Now I charged this thing up at about 2 a.m. I took it off the charger, promptly went to bed. Overnight I lost about 15% in battery life, and I've lost maybe another 5% since I've been up. But overall, when I wake up at 8 or 9 to begin the day, I'm at 85, 88%. And then usually by midday, I'm around 70 something. And usually by the time I drop it back on the charger, I'm around 50. If I've done a bunch of movement or working out, or I've had the watch on and I've done stuff, then I'm usually in the 40s. Now that's pretty light usage in my opinion, but it's a watch. And I think a lot of people need to keep that in mind, that this isn't a device to leave on all day long. It's not a device that you need to be seeing all day long. I like the always on display, but I turned mine off because I'm not looking at the dang thing. So like right now, my watch is off. If I'm down here working, I can't see the watch face. It's angled away from me. But as soon as I want to see it, bring it up. Okay, yep, got it. Put it away, gone. So while I like the always on display, I use it on my work phone here so that I can see a couple basic details. It drains battery life. And on my watch, I don't need that, because typically if I'm working, my phone is sitting here pretty close to me and I can see any information I need. I don't have enough critical notifications coming to this that I would need it on all the time to see all that. I do get some emails and other things, and I can swipe over and go through those notifications and dismiss them, but typically I don't mess with that on the watch itself. Occasionally, if I'm not near my phone and I get some just to keep it clean, then yeah, I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm grabbing my phone and I'm looking in more detail. But again, this is a convenience factor for if my phone's not on me. Now, I got the Bluetooth version, so my phone has to be within about 50 feet of me to maintain connection and communication. Otherwise, it's going to disconnect. Which is fine sometimes because, well, I don't need my phone 100% on me, and for the basic functions of a watch, this thing will still work. So, very convenient. Now, I did, in the Watch 2 and the others that I looked at, wanted one that would be able to be a phone, but I didn't want to pay for the separate cellular service. I just wanted the convenience of it. So there's a little speaker and a little microphone around the edges on this. And it works surprisingly well, actually. I think my wife says when she calls me a couple of times that I've answered on it, that I sounded better than I do on my phone. So just kind of an interesting, funny thing on that. But anyway, this is the watch face that I have found to be the best for me. I like all the different stats that I can put on it. It gives me a lot of information immediately and easily. And I like the colors. I have the Secret Agent one that looks like the N64 GoldenEye watch, which is kind of cool, but it just, I don't know. I just prefer this one. It looks a lot cleaner and nicer, so I've kept this one rolling. I have weather, a couple of the basic workouts that I do, calendar, the hard stuff I haven't done much today because I slept all day. Body mass, we'll come back to that one in a minute. Oxygenation, sleep, heart rate. Well, I jumped from the 50s to the 70s because I'm talking. Stress is always minimal for me, and that's really it. There's more apps, there's more things that I can put on here, but there's really not a point for me to do that because if I need anything, I can swipe up to get to my apps, and all of the apps that I really care about are sitting here at the top. And this one, I don't know why I kept that one there because I have a button for that, so that one will go here in a minute. Now that I've realized it's there, I'll get rid of it. The ECG feature I can't use, which is a bit annoying because that's locked behind Samsung devices. Hopefully they'll bypass that. I know there is a bit of a hack that you can do to install a kind of modded version of that on both the watch and your phone and get the features. But right now, I'm not that concerned about it. I'm just enjoying full support. There's been a number of updates for the watch, and I don't really want to go mess with anything and potentially brick it or cause a problem with it after that. But otherwise, all of the main apps that I use are sitting right there on the main screen, and any others that I may want to look at are just right below. So not a big deal. From the top, I've got it configured for all of the stuff that I actually use on the main page. So location, Wi-Fi, and sleep mode are the most important. I keep the brightness on automatic, but sometimes if I'm outside and I know I'm not going to need the watch at full brightness, I've dialed that down again to save on power. Oops. And then NFC for payments, secondary, and tertiary. And then that's it. I really don't need any others. The only one that's final on that front is the always on display, but I don't need to worry about that. Sound, I keep the watch on vibrate because it's on my wrist and I've never really missed it vibrating except for once when I was actually out biking. And just because I was going through a rock garden, my arm was, I didn't feel one of the calls. But the other one, when I was on a smoother part of the trail, I did feel it. I was able to stop, swipe up, not answering, and hit, I'll call you back, I'm doing something, which was great. It was very convenient, and normally I would just miss those calls because my phone would be in my backpack. All right. So going through some of the apps, I like what it does in here. I've got location off, but I like how it starts it and then it rolls through. My favorite feature of this, because I'm not going to go cover S-Health and all these other apps, everybody's probably seen it, there's a billion videos on it, but what I loved most about the watch is its automation features in going through a lot of that stuff, because when I actually went out biking, I did go in here, hit cycling, let it start, and then I went riding. Well, I stopped at one point because I needed to adjust my seat or my front tire, and I felt my watch vibrate. I'm like, what the heck? And I looked at it and it said auto pause. I went, okay, that's sweet. Jumped back on my bike, started riding. Half a second later, resume, beep, beep, felt it go. It automatically started and stopped my workout for me, which was wonderful. I do a light workout every day. I try to walk a mile on the treadmill every day, sometimes more, sometimes I'll jog, sometimes I'll walk, just depends on how much sleep I've had and how busy my day's been. But I try to do it every day, and this thing will automatically pick all that up. Sure, it's going to lose a couple of the steps from the workout, but I don't care. I'm just tracking overall activity and doing stuff like that with this, and it works really well. So I'll get on the treadmill, and after 10 minutes, it'll say, hey, we detected you've been walking for 10 minutes. We're going to start this as a workout. Great, fine by me. I don't need to go in there and do a bunch of stuff. It just takes care of it for me, which is great. And that's what I really like, and part of the reason that I wanted to buy this particular watch. All of the sensors on here are really good and fairly modern, are really good, modern, very sensitive sensors, but you do have to take some of the readings with a grain of salt depending on what's happening. So for me, if I come back down here to the stress one, it's very rare for me on this that the stress level actually is out of the green. I don't think I've ever seen it leave the green. I think during a heavy workout, I was more up towards the yellow, but I never actually left the green, and biking wasn't stressful. It was just cardiovascular work and I was breathing heavy. So for some of you who may have higher heart rate and more activity from your stress or anxiety, then this will definitely help you. For me, my stress, my anxiety hits me in a slightly different way. So it's not very common that this meter really moves for me, unfortunately. So I can't really use that all that much, but it is nice to have. I do check it once in a while. More so for me, it comes down to my heart rate itself. So right now, because I'm talking, moving, I just ran upstairs and a bunch of other stuff to get it going, I'm at about 77. On standard, though, if I'm just sitting here working and I'm not on a conference call, I'm not talking, I'm not doing anything, I'm just breathing normally, then I'm typically in the 62 to 66 range. And I don't know if you saw it earlier before it updated. After walking around, eating breakfast, some basic stuff in the morning, I was at 56. So my heart rate is usually fairly low and common. So you can see right now 77 is on the high end of what this watch calls my average. So after about a week of usage, this thing is kind of slowed down and dialed into where my kind of average lands. So if we do a measure right now, I'll shut up while it does it. So you could see how it was starting off kind of fast because I'd just been talking, I'd just been exerting a little bit. And so it was at the higher 73, and you could see the cardio chart going up and down a little faster. And then as I breathed in, you could see the lines going up higher. And then as I breathed out, you could see it slow and the lines stay lower down for the intensity of where I was going in the way I was breathing and calming down, and that slowed the heart rate down to 73. So once I'm done with this video, I'll be back in the 60s sitting here calmly without a big deal. The sleep stuff is really nice, and I'm going to go through this more on the phone just because it looks better on there. It's nice to have it here, and I love the fact that it does it, but not a big deal. So blood oxygenation, I'm typically during the daytime between 96 and 99%. Nighttime, occasionally I'll dip down to 94. It does have a, during the sleep, it does have a snore tracker, which uses your phone. You just point the microphone at you. I occasionally will snore if I lay on my back and I'm kind of stopped up or something like that. But typically, if I sleep on my side and if I'm on my back and I'm just not stopped up, then I don't really snore. So that's why my oxygenation level is a bit higher. But I do like, because I've seen this once dip into, I think, 88, and that was a night where I was a little stopped up and I think I did snore, but none of it registered on my phone yet. So I'm not really a big snorer, but I do like to keep track of this, especially during workouts and stuff. Now this one has a lot of great information, and again, you can see more of it on the phone. But the thing to really call out about this is you have to really take some of this with a grain of salt, because what I've been doing lately is trying to run this at about the same time every day. So I've got about the same amount of food, I've done the same amount of working out, and I'm in the same kind of position that I was previously when I ran it. I try not to change the weight too much because I'm holding average between about 142 and 146 for my weight. And I'm about 6'1" in height. So my weight doesn't fluctuate all that much, but because I don't bother going and jumping on the scales to accurately get my weight, sometimes the body fat and the BMI things kind of get a little skewed because it'll register things a little differently. So this morning when I woke up, before I'd eaten anything, because it had been longer since I'd actually gotten up, I think I was at 142. So right now I've eaten, I'm going to put 143. And you have to grab these sensors and hold it and keep still, not touch your skin. So I kind of pull the watch and lift it up a little bit into the other one, and that way I stay on there. And then it'll finish and we'll see what it comes out and says. Now I don't normally check at this time of the day. Weight went down a little bit, of course. Skeletal muscle, it says, went up. Fat mass went down, so now my body fat went from 18 to 16, and everything else is there. So it's kind of all over the place, but as long as you're accurate with some certain things, it will help you keep kind of a general idea of where you are. As a lot of YouTubers and other videos have said, this is not going to be your ultimate tracker. It's not going to be like a great, insane medical device, but it does a pretty decent job of measuring it. And again, I'm not going to go in depth of how it sends the electrical signal through your body and measures the resistance and things, but you have to give it accurate information for it to give you an accurate result. So just keep that in mind in using this. So I do like to try and keep the body fat around 16% or less, but you have to go weigh yourself. And again, if you start weighing yourself all the time, then that can lead to other potential issues, especially if you have any sort of proclivity towards disorders, food issues, things like that. So just I would recommend a lot of caution with this and kind of try not to over focus on some of these things. Because I mean, I've once, I did a run on the treadmill. I ran about 8 miles an hour up a 4% grade for 2 laps of the mile, then walked a little bit, and then ran the last quarter of the lap for 7 miles an hour. And that was after doing a couple other light workout items. Went down and got a drink of water. I left the weight the same, but because I just added a bunch of water to my body, the body fat jumped up to 19%. And I know that it wasn't at all that high, but because I hadn't really bothered to go get on the scale and see what my weight had done, I didn't adjust it. So just keep that in mind. I like this screen just because it's kind of a general overview and kind of a shortcut to get to some. So if I want to just go straight to stress, I can without having to scroll through all the pages, and it's just kind of a good way to look at how everything went for your day. I also like this chart because it just kind of gives you an idea of where your goals are. My target is 6,000 steps. I haven't made that yet, but I've come close in the fives. Time I have set to about an hour, I believe, and calories I think is set to 200, 200 or something. I don't remember. Calendar, just a calendar. Not going to talk about it. We already looked at that. And then weather. I love the weather app as well because it automatically scrolls down through some of these things, just giving you a brief overlook of, hey, it's 55 degrees, 1% chance of rain. It's sunny. It feels like 55. And then it dumps you at the current time as well as the hours that are coming. So it is currently about 12:30. So I'm up here at 12 p.m. You can see kind of how we've grown, what the water levels are. It's sunny the whole day. It's Texas, what do you expect? And then I can go look at the next couple hours and plan ahead for my day. I've got my week forecast. So today it's Saturday. Today is Saturday, and then I've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then humidity and other details on there. And this is the screen that I have on my home screen. So if I go home, I've got sunrise, sunset. I do that because when it was a little warmer out, I would go biking all the time in the evening, and I don't like being out at certain points of the night in certain areas just because I'm riding on very busy roads. I try not to ride on the roads when possible just because I don't like trying to be on the road as a bike against a 3 to 5 ton car. It's Texas, everybody drives a truck. So I prefer to ride on sidewalks. So when I'm on the big roads, I like to ride those when it's a bit more sunny. And then when I get on kind of the back streets in the neighborhoods where there's a lot more people walking on the sidewalks, then I feel more comfortable shifting over to riding on the roads. And that way I'm not quite in there, and my tail light and headlight will shine out a lot more to the cars, and I'm typically not lost on them. So knowing kind of when that sun's going to set helps me kind of plan and go, okay, I need to leave, or I need to pick up my pace or things like that. So I like that a lot. Anyway, let's go shift over to the phone and see what it shows. So here I am on my phone. I've got the OnePlus 5T. It is an older phone. It's a non-Samsung phone, which is also why that EKG, ECG, whatever function doesn't work. But there are a couple apps that you need to have installed to get it to work. So first will be Galaxy Wearable, which is just kind of the overall app that allows control of the watch, and then depending on your watch, it'll give you this other app, which is kind of the communications hub that will relay between your phone and the watch and allow everything to work. Then for the health features, you'll need Samsung Health, and if you do download some other watches, you'll get the individual apps for these, and these are ones that I don't like. I wish this would fall under the app itself. This is for that secret agent not Samsung Nintendo 64 GoldenEye watch face from GoldenEye. They have a ton of options to configure the screen in here, and you can do so many different things, which is great, but I hate having all that separate from my typical Wear OS stuff. Whereas in here, I can say, this is my watch face. I would like to go under watch faces, and then I can customize it. So I've got my color scheme. I like the pre-made one just because it has a bunch of other colors, but I can always come in here and set my own colors for certain things if I wanted to. Give it a second, it'll refresh, and now it's all red. Don't really like that, but hey. And I also like that it's very easy for me to come in here and just scroll through the different things that I can put on here from all the different options, and just have it immediately configure that part of the watch. So currently, I forget what complication 1 is. Your battery. Complication 1 are my steps. So I could do body composition if I'm really tracking that type of work, and it would tell me the percentage on my body composition. If I'm, say, training for something specifically, or I've got some specific targets that I'm trying to hit, I could easily do that. Or if I need to maintain my breathing for stress, I'll have reminders up there. Or if I'm tracking food, I can do that. Again, be careful with a lot of these things, especially if you have a proclivity or a propensity for some sort of disorders. Definitely don't want to recommend people dig in on that type of stuff. So down here, you can see what the Secret Agent watch face looks like. If I click on that, it'll load it at the top. I don't have it enabled on my watch. These are all the ones that are currently on the phone. I tried the Pixel Minimal one for a little while, didn't like it. The Premium Analog is the first one I used for a little bit. It wasn't bad, but I wanted more information because I was looking for a smartwatch, but that was a very nice face. I thought it was nice. The default big number one I thought was horrible. I just didn't like it. And none of these others, that one was kind of appealing, but it was too bright. But the rest of these really weren't my cup of tea, as it were. But I can see the appeal, and I don't hate them. It's just, for me, I really like that one. I did try this one, which is similar, just a little more minimal, but I don't really need to worry about music and other things on there. So that's there, and then you can always come down here and get more watch faces and just scroll through all of the different ones that are available. This one, the health dashboard's pretty cool, and it's easy to flip through these. So like if you normally use this one, but then say you're going to go do a workout, you could easily flip to the health dashboard, put that one on as your primary as you go in to work out. You'll still get your time, you'll still get all your normal stuff, but now you have a bunch of the stats about your workout going on, and it can help you track a lot more stuff more timely while you need it. And then as you leave, you can easily switch right back to the digital dashboard or whichever one you typically use, which is awesome, and that's part of the appeal of these devices. So really like that. Otherwise, this app is pretty simplistic, but I like how it's similar to a phone setup. So if you've ever set up a cell phone, setting up your watch is going to be fairly easy and straightforward. What I don't really like is how certain aspects of this move. So I can add a bunch of tiles that I've got in here for different things. I've removed a few just because I don't need that many tiles. And then organizing your tiles at the top is also a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. So be it in tiles or apps or the quick panel, my biggest gripe with this particular layout, I mean, it's nice to scroll through and kind of see how they are, but they need a view like this on the bottom so that you can reorder things. I mean, yes, if I want to add, say, reminders right after that, I can simply add it, no big deal. But if I want to move any of these around, then it's very difficult to actually grab it and start to scroll it slowly through, and then drop it at the end where you want it. It just seems like there's a better way to do it. And I think if you could do it in this list, it would be a lot easier to go in there and mess with. And same thing with apps. Sure, I can reorder my apps. Like I don't need recent apps at the top here, so I can drag that one down under the calculator, and Samsung Health Monitor doesn't work because I don't have Samsung device, so there you go. That's not the end of the world, but again, having a proper list to me would just make a lot more sense in it functioning. The quick panel can be really difficult because while I can move anything around in here easy, say I want to move that around, you see now bedtime's at the top. What if I don't want bedtime at the top? What if I simply just want bedtime to stay there and I just want to flip those two? Why can't it do that instead of moving them all down in a row? This makes it really cumbersome if I say I want to take location from here and move it down here, because when I take this off, airplane mode zips over to the other one, and then when I drop that one here, it will shuffle all these down, and it just completely skews the order, so you have to drag them consistently back over as things move, so you're constantly scrolling back and forth. Getting these set up to this point took way too long to get, and that just was really annoying. So I think it should just swap the two that you're dropping it on, because that just makes it a lot easier. And again, if they created a simple list and just segregated it by page 1, page 2, page 3, then I could just simply drag and drop around the list and it would be a lot easier to deal with. So those are my main gripes with it, but otherwise, I think this has been a fantastic watch. Do I wish battery life lasted a little bit longer? Yes, I do wish battery life lasted a little longer. Now my GoPro died, so I had to charge it up here. And I've done some moving, so some steps, and I've had the screen on a lot more than normal, so I'm down to 74%. When I went out and did my bike ride, I had location on and the workout tracking on, and it ate through a pretty decent chunk of the battery life in the 2 hours I was out riding. Now, I still came back and finished the day with, I think, 28-30% of battery life left. It's a little low, but that was still more than 24 hours worth of life out of it in my type of usage. I knew exactly what I was buying, I bought exactly what I wanted, and I'm using it primarily as a watch with some smart features attached. I've taken 3 phone calls on it just because my watch was in a different part of the house and it was more convenient. I've done some very light texting on it. Is it great to text on? No, but it's a very good stopgap if your phone's not on you, or you're driving and it's not super convenient to find your phone and deal with it, you can do this while keeping your hands, for the most part, on the steering wheel. So for those things, it works great as just a stopgap solution. You're never going to be using this little screen to do full-on texting, voice calls perfectly. It works. It sounds fantastic, but it's still a watch. And I think if a lot of people keep that in mind and put the device in the right context, convergence is great, but it's a watch. Right now, technology is not going to allow this watch to function great as a full phone. If you bought this with the LTE and all that other stuff, I can definitely imagine your battery life going down. And if we look at what I've got on, the only thing actively connected right now is Bluetooth. I don't keep Wi-Fi on because I have absolutely no need to. I don't keep GPS on because I have absolutely no need to. I only turn GPS on if I'm out biking or if I'm going for a hike or something and I actually want to use the maps or something or track my movements. So that's really the only time I'm going to be messing with that type of a tracking on there. Now that particular bike ride, let me come down here into Samsung Health. Everything in here gets tracked very nicely, and you can add things to it. See kind of the history, how much water you've had. Manage some of the items, so I've reordered it. Under sleep, you can see the time range. You can go back and track it across the week. So yesterday I barely got 5 hours and 6 minutes. You can see REM sleep was not a lot. Awake time, light sleep, so not the best sleep that night. But if I come back to today, I can come down here and you can see, oh, I did much better because, well, it was a weekend. There's consistency, naps. I don't really get to take naps. Snore data's on, but I've never had any captured. Body composition, again, you can come in here, go through, check all that stuff, and you can see how it moves over time. And you can see, again, mine's pretty consistently flatlined because I don't change much. I'm typically within the same range. So not a big deal. Heart rate, same type of stuff. You can see how it moves, how it changes. So you can see daily minimum and maximum. I bottomed out at 51 and I maxed at 175 doing a jog, and you can see that was my workout period right there. So it's kind of neat to come in here and look at it. 60 to 68, I didn't get to do anything that day. And today I haven't done anything yet, so soon. Stress levels, same thing. I think this is when my wife tried the watch on. Otherwise, you can see I don't even really register on it. All right, workouts, which is the main thing I really wanted to show here. So if I go under View History, these are mostly going to be treadmill pickups and walking. And you can see it's not 100% accurate. I did walk over a mile, tracked by the treadmill, over a mile. That one was half. That one I did a mile, but I had an interruption in it. And then going back, here's my bike ride. This one I used GPS, so it has a lot of great information on it. It tracked every individual mile that I rode separately, which was great. I rode the entire northern set of my typical bike trail, which was good to see and neat. Then it has all these other statistics you can see at each phase of the bike ride. Your speed, your heart rate. So the worst heart rate for me was up here during this early big hill climb before I kind of got rolling. Let's get back on there, right there. It's about 159, almost 180 on the heart rate there. That was kind of the peak of the difficult hill climb for me getting in there. And then after that, while there was a lot more rough areas, it really wasn't that big of a deal. So nice to see all these different charts. Gives you a whole bunch of good stats. And then this is the one that I really like because it tells you kind of where your workout is in your heart rate. You've got your weight control, which is typically the best for burning the fat. Aerobic for cardiovascular. I forget anaerobic. I really don't remember what all these are. Yeah, so improves endurance, general fitness, breathing is labored. The level is recommended for short spurts, not all the time. Aerobic intense but not exhausting. Best zone for weight loss because the total calories burned is higher. Weight control, just kind of maintain where you are. So I spent most of mine in the anaerobic on this workout, which just happened to be the pace I was keeping in the hard workout. Had I slowed the pace down, then I probably would have stayed more in the aerobic, which would have been better for weight loss. But again, I'm not really trying to lose weight. I'm just trying to maintain where I'm at. So not too bad. And then you can come down here and see all the laps, everything that you did, distance. So really awesome tracking. You can add pictures, notes, you can do all sort of stuff. So really nice. This is a pretty decent trail with some good mixed uphill, downhill, rock garden stuff. So overall, the fact that I got through the entire northern part of the trails with an actual active time of 1 hour and 12, I think I had to fix my tire twice because my bike's falling apart, and there were a couple of breaks in there. So all in all, it was about 1.5 hours of total ride time. So really not too bad. Now my other tracking app that I use against that is this one, and unfortunately, I forgot to turn it off. So I had a 5-minute, 10-minute drive home in there. So you can see the total time on that same ride was 1 hour and 30, and the distance was 14, which is my drive home because I forgot to turn the stupid thing off. But that's kind of what it shows. So anyway, again, overall, I'm extremely happy with the watch. I bought exactly what I wanted. I got exactly what I expected. Do I wish the ECG feature functioned? Yes. Do I wish I had slightly better battery life? Yes. But as both a nice fashion piece and a very functional watch, I am extremely happy with what I got. So keep that in mind if you're looking at some of the negative reviews about this watch. I never really liked the old Tizen system that they had prior. This one running Wear OS is much more in line with what I like. And I hope they continue to add more features to it and improve upon the ecosystem because I really like this watch. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully I don't beat the crap out of it. I'm trying to be pretty careful with it. But if you have any questions, if you have anything specific you'd like to see that potentially maybe some of the other reviewers haven't gone into, I'll see what I can do. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.